All right, everyone, we are at a remote location here in Peterborough, Ontario. Attack on Show's gone international, so this is a big deal.
Canada.
We're at the Whistle Stop, over 100 different varieties of poutine here, and I'm with Gavin O'Sullivan, the indie folk artist here out of Hamilton, Ontario, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
We actually connected through Twitter, and I checked out some of your music. I really liked it.
Thanks,
so I really appreciate you coming out this far to meet me here. And just wanted to touch base with you, talk a little bit about the music. Obviously, the Boomerang Project is a new project for you.
Right.
Why don't you tell a little bit about the Boomerang Project?
The Boomerang Project is basically, I've lived, I guess, lived away from my hometown for 13 years. I guess it was coming back home. I don't know if you know a band called the Killjoys, but there was they were from Canada. They were like a pretty popular band at the time, and they're from Hamilton. And one of the guys, the singer Mikey, was like, "Oh, do you?" Says, "You're back now." He says, "You're a boomerang," and I was like, "What?" He's
That's
like,
a hook.
Yeah, he says, "You're a boomerang," and then it just sort of stuck in my head for a while, and then this song came out, and from there, I mean, the project kind of started a couple years before. Actually, I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself, but it started where I did do a couple of recordings, like through friends, sort of coming back, just for a week or whatever, visiting friends, and like I did some recordings. And then that sort of, I guess, they've sort of just been sitting around, and I, eventually was just in my course of my life, I was like, okay, I'm going back, and it all kind of came together where it's like, you know what, I'm sort of connecting with my musical friends, and also the music scene in Hamilton has really changed in the last 10 years that I've been gone, where it's just really boomed.
Right.
And tons of bands, tons of just seems that really sort of shedding the Steel Town moniker that it had, and now it's more of an arts and
a lot of different venues and places to play, and that coming out,
and a lot of musicians, and really support of one another, different genres. Everybody, you kind of know everybody, so that kind of going back into that was a really sort of part of the Boomerang Project, was having all these different musicians play on my songs, and reconnecting with my old buddies, and then also sort of the new kids are playing or whatever, and that's been really exciting for me. It's kind of
it's great. And the first track you released obviously is Boomerang, and very catchy hook, and that's actually what we're going to be featuring a little bit here in this episode for I Miss My MTV. We're going to play that track. But I got to tell you, since listening to this song and when we connected, that was the first track I listened to. That hook is in my head constantly.
'Cause I'm a boomerang. That's what I am.
I mean, that is a fantastic sound. I really love. I mean, the start off with the acoustic, and your vocals tied with it, and then it sounds great, and then it just picks off and gets into that catchy riff where it sticks in your head. And you guys are going to know what we're talking about once we play it here in the next segment. But I really like the track. I mean, did that take you a long time to write, or was it something that just kind of came to you after, like you said, your friend suggested the Boomerang? Did you just start building from there pretty quickly?
It was just one that I, usually have about 5 to 10 different ideas on my phone, kind of, mulling around, and some are, a little bit more ahead of one another than the other one. This particular one, I had 3 songs that I was going to go into a recording studio with, at a place called the Cotton Factory, and went in, and it ended up being none of those 3 songs. It ended up being Boomerang, which is sometimes the way you think that you have like a structure of how it's going to go in, but then the co-producer was like, no, we thought we were going to do it very intimate and small, like in a real small room, and really acoustically, and then it's like, no, we got access to the bigger room, let's played with the drums, and then a keyboard player came in and it was just kind of like an organic thing. It's like, okay, what song do you want to do? And I was like, oh, let's try this one, and away it went, and it pretty much we built it from that. And sometimes that's
amazing. It's fascinating to watch how music comes together like that, because it's multiple people coming together at once and just playing off of each other, and it's an amazing thing to see that happen, and especially when you come up with something that catches like that and just carries and carries. I mean, I'm really excited to see where the song goes. So the third song that you released is an Alanis Morissette cover.
What it all comes down to is that everything's gonna be quite alright.
covers are very risky because obviously, especially a song like that had major success.
Yes.
Were you a little worried or a little nervous taking on such a big song? And I think you did a great job at it. I do want to say, you guys definitely want to check that out when you go check out his page. But is it something when you start that project, is it a little overwhelming?
Yeah, I mean, it was just something that, I have a lot of original songs because that's what I mainly do, and I've been trying to expand my, cover songs and doing, anything from Johnny Cash to a Fleetwood Mac or a Tom Petty song or something that,
I could see that for sure, yeah.
You feel comfortable with. And then this one was, I guess sometimes I do lean towards like a female singer song and then doing it with a male, a male voice. And this one, it just came together in the studio so well that it was, after listening to a couple days after you record it, you go back and listen to it, and I was like, this doesn't really need a lot. Like sometimes you need to put stuff on the song to, a fiddle or a different instrument or whatever. And this one was just the way it was. It was like, what?
Just happens.
I feel pretty proud of it. And I feel like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty different.
Yeah.
The arrangement's a bit different.
No, your own take. I was actually gonna say that next is that, I let your playlist. I was just having it play in the background, so I wasn't necessarily just watching the video. And the song came on, and I was enjoying it. And then it's a very unique take on it, and you changed the style. And it didn't click right away that this was a cover until it got into the hook of it, and I was like, oh, okay, then it clicked. But I love when people can take covers like that. You make it your own, and you did a great job with it.
Yeah,
I think the final product was very well done, and that's the most recent one that you released, correct?
Yeah.
And then in between those two was the song Blue.
All the roads to travel lead me farther away from you.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about Blue.
Blue was, I guess, a song that's stuck around for about 5 or 6 years in different ways of playing it, and it's just one that you kind of, I don't know, you mix the pot, the poutine, you mix it up and you try different ingredients, and it's like, it's not that good, and you self-doubt yourself a lot of times. At least I do sometimes, kind of like, maybe it's not good enough song.
Yeah.
And then eventually it gets to a point where maybe it has matured to a point where it's like, you know what, this is pretty decent, and I can stand, because a songwriter has to stand behind their song because they're doing it over and over again and listening to it over and over again sometimes to get it right. So for me, it's like, okay, it got to that point where it finally was like, okay, cool. And then from there, we went in. That was the same recording studio as the Atlanta song.
Okay.
So the first song, Boomerang, was a different studio, and then the other two were. So there's been different. It's not just like one studio with the same musicians. There's been sort of like different approaches, but trying to make it all sound like fairly
like a
uniform thing, right? But Blue with then we went into Toronto and we filmed it in an aquarium, which was kind of a neat. A different take on it, something that obviously with the blue in the water, but then kind of just the whole depth of the fish and the different and that aquarium's awesome. I don't know if you've ever been to
actually, we need to check that.
Shout out to the Toronto Aquarium. But yeah, we went in and just some great shots because you're so close to the fish and they're like basically just all around you.
Oh wow.
Right? Yeah.
And then you're also having to focus and remember to film a video while you're doing it, right?
Yeah, and it was good enough that we actually got it at a good time when there wasn't a lot of people around, so we were able to actually make it almost like we had the whole aquarium to ourselves.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of just focused in on just me singing with a bunch of fish, and they have a bunch of different alcoves and stuff that you can go into, and
Gotcha.
It's a good day.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So now, what's on the horizon here for you? I mean, you've got you have songs lined up coming out, or are you still kind of currently in the process of forming some new material?
I've got all the songs, and another 4 are recorded already, and they just have to be mixed. And then there's one I just recently done. I hadn't played with a fiddle player before, and that was kind of, or at least a fiddle. I played with fiddle players before, but this was, I guess, so for the Boomerang Project, it was the first time that fiddle and that. I don't know. I have obviously a Celtic English background as far as the name goes, and
I wouldn't have guessed O'Sullivan. Huh?
And usually, so it just seemed to really sort of be a nice touch to add that instrument. So then one of the next songs that have come out, I'll have a fiddle in it for
Excellent.
sure. Yeah.
So do you work with in the mixing process as well? I mean, how much of that are you involved with once you've recorded? Do you go into the studio as well and continue with all the mixing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like the technical guy of is going to be actually pushing the buttons to the, and I'm more of the ideas guy, kind of like, okay, I've got the idea, put it all together, but then it's, somebody else better than me can usually, and Duke Foster has done a really good job. He works with Blue Rodeo a lot, so he's kind of brought his expertise into the mixing part of it.
Okay.
And him and his brother Steve have both helped this project really sort of build. And these are guys I've known for many years, basically since college years.
They're out of Hamilton.
And they're out of
so
Hamilton.
Were they with you in Vancouver, or are these people that you've reconnected with?
These are two guys that I reconnected with.
Excellent.
Among a bunch of other guys, but those were just in as part of the mixing goes. Duke was able to really sort of get it to the point where I couldn't do it. I couldn't push those. I couldn't. I
There's
know,
a lot of buttons on those boards.
I know basics, and you kind of go, hey, I like that, and hey, take that out, or you kind of
add some of this.
You can add some of this, but basically it's for the technical part of it.
Completely understand. It sounds a very tricky thing to deal with in those. So currently, this fun question for you: any current artists out there that you like? If you could have a collab with anybody, is there anybody out there that who would you select?
I love the Abbott Brothers and the Milk Carton Kids as far as that Americana stuff, and then the Tings have a really cool song lately that I like. That's Not My Name, or that song. I don't know if you know. It's like so catchy. You think Boomerang catchy? Oh my God, this song! Like you're singing. It's called the Tings. I think they're actually from England too. So.
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
I've not heard of that one.
But those are three off the top of my head that I kind of like. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Similar style. Do you like when you're performing live in it? Do you prefer the acoustic, just being able to walk in with a guitar and playing for a night, or do you like having a full band and everything behind you?
I guess at least I do the solo acoustic thing, and that's fine. It's really challenging because I'm not. I guess it's to be able to entertain people with just your guitar is a challenge for me. With my own original songs, if people have never heard sure you can do cover songs and they can kind of go, okay, I know that song, but to do your own song and make it enjoyable for somebody, it's a challenge. But I also I love to have other players play too, whether it be an accordion or a fiddle or a drummer or just
fun having people out there with you
to totally feed off,
bounce the music back and forth off.
Absolutely.
Some of the things we had talked about here, obviously, social media.
Yes.
A little tricky here when you're out there promoting yourself. Kind of a double-edged sword because you can get yourself out there, but then honing in on it. How do you handle with all the different ways of being able to market yourself out there?
It is overwhelming, and the concept that still blows my mind is when I did music before, or I guess like earlier on in my life, your world was basically, going from Hamilton to Toronto, and maybe up to Kingston, or up to Peterborough, or up, and your world was very like, okay, we can get some fans maybe in Sudbury, and you build your fan base on a real sort of local, small level. But now,
kissing baby, shaking hands way.
Yeah. And now, I just got a message on Instagram from Australia saying, talking about Boomerang, and have I ever
that's fabulous.
Have I ever thrown a boomerang? And actually, no, I've never thrown a boomerang.
They took the literal. That's hilarious.
And it's kind of so it's kind of like wrapping my head around that whole social media thing and trying to keep up with like, okay, and I think that kind of like, okay, hey, well maybe you can find your audience more of like people are into that particular song or whatever in Chicago or in England or wherever, whatever city or London or whatever that you can kind of find where you might hey, okay, I'm going to go play there because my song seems to be doing fairly well there.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
The different avenues, obviously, contact with you for everyone watching. Facebook, obviously, Gavin O'Sullivan.
Yeah. All right. Facebook is at Gavos Music.
At Gavos Music.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gavos Music.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Twitter is
Twitter at Gavos Music.
Okay. So I'm picking up a trend here. Same thing for Instagram.
Same thing for Instagram. So I got those three. And Spotify is Gavin O'Sullivan. at Gavel's Music. I think it was already taken.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know what they're doing. Don't listen to them. Just kidding.
We're on standby for that one.
Yeah.
So speaking of Spotify, your music is on Spotify.
Yes.
And you were talking a little bit about how that works as far as getting your music on certain playlists, or how does Spotify work with all of that?
Well, for me, it's a new beast, and I guess a lot of it is making up or connecting with people that make the playlists and the algorithms, and whether or not you're aligned with I guess certain genres, like, hey, there's a Americana roots genre, or maybe a dance genre, or whatever. And I think the playlists are all based around those particular things, or whether or not, when people put on their playlist, that if your song comes on, it kind of fits in with
the style that they're listening.
Yeah, and I don't know how that is reflecting on music today. And
you
how
were
people
just on
listen.
A recent playlist, correct? Was there one that you were highlighting with quite a few plays on it?
There was one, the Sons of Anarchy playlist, which is
great show, by the way.
Yeah,
great show.
Which is just kind of like, I guess, all songs that would kind of go into that vein, which is kind of cool. I have to watch that show. I've seen like a few episodes, but I mean, it's whatever you can do to kind of like, I guess
very similar style. The soundtracks to Sons of Anarchy. Yes, your music is very similar in that style. I actually was a big fan. Kurt Sutter was the creator of the show. It's a great show.
Yeah.
And your style of music would fit in well. So it's actually pretty fitting that gets on. Although I will say your tone's a lot happier than what that show was about. But
I'm not like the drunk happy tone. No.
Which, and kind of going full circle, going back to Boomerang and covering the social media that you're on, YouTube, obviously your music videos are there. I want to talk about the Boomerang video.
Yeah,
it's a good video. I mean, it's one of those, I say, like a permagrin. It's one that you start playing, and the way the music just already gives you a kind of that want to smile feeling, and then the video just fit perfectly with it. Who is it that you're working with? Are all three videos the same? Are you using different people for each video, or how's the production going on those?
Yeah, I guess started collaborating with a gentleman called Adam F. Carter.
There's already an Adam Carter? Adam F. Carter.
Adam Carter. He is known as Hamilton Music Adam. And basically he's a musician himself, but he does, this is sort of he's done a lot of live videos.
Okay.
But he's done all three so far, and we continue to work together because I think it's a really sort of good chemistry of trying to basically guerrilla style, where,
know all about that.
Where you get like, a rough framework, and you kind of go with it, and you kind of like, okay, this is the day that we're going to shoot, and this is kind of roughly what we're going to do. And with Boomerang, a couple of different days was like, okay, we want to get some live shots of me playing. And then there was also the whole sort of coming back to home. So I ended up
in the winter, by the way.
Yes, and my mom ended up having some old footage from 8mm footage from the '60s.
Gives it a good retro look.
So I said to Adam, I said, hey, it would be cool if we could, throw these in, and he was like, oh no, this is going to be a headache.
It's a format nightmare.
And but it actually, he, smooth as butter. He kind of made it sort of work where there's some old footage of me, like.
It's the second time I've heard smooth as butter this week.
Is
this coming around?
Smooth as butter. It's the new thing. It's the new song, smooth as butter.
Got it. Okay. No, they turned out very well. I was a little nervous for you with the gas nozzle by your mouth. I hope none of that dripped, because that might taste a little funny. But no, it's a fun video. I really like the production of it. I think it turned out really well. It gave you that homey feeling, which obviously Boomerang's about, coming home and getting your roots. And it definitely accomplished that. And I like the look of it, and you can see that trend in all three of the music videos.
Thanks, man.
Before we let you go, I have a very important. We do this with all of our guests, so hopefully you're excited about this. You get your very own Attack on Show whiskey tumbler, because they wouldn't pour whiskey here, but hopefully later you can pour yourself a nice little glass.
I just think that looks very like 80s.
We're going for the retro look.
That reminds me of Duran Duran, Seven the Ragged Tiger.
We love the 80s. That was like the golden age of film music, right? I mean, I gotta say, Gavin, it's been awesome chatting with you.
For sure, man.
We're gonna head things over to the next segment, so I think it's only right if we let you introduce the next segment. So it's all yours.
I'm Gavin O'Sullivan, and I miss my MTV.
I miss my MTV.
I miss my MTV.
throw me away, far from where I came, over fields of grain. I wanna start over again. See, I ended up in Mexico. It's about as far as I could go, trying to ease my mind about leaving this behind. 'Cause I'm a boomerang. That's what I am. I'm a boomerang. 'Cause I'm a boomerang. That's what I am. I'm a boomerang. Maybe I'll catch a train, get away from all this rain, back to you from where I came. I wanna start over again. 'Cause I'm a boomerang. That's what I am. I'm a boomerang. 'Cause I'm a boomerang.